upon my neighbor, Clement Monarch Ogaro. Mr. Ogaro began his journey in Carnival within the Calypso arena. However, he has made an indelible mark in the festivals in general. His Carnival career culminated with him becoming the National Carnival chairperson. It was him and his committee who coined the term Sugar Mass in 2010. Join us as we welcome the icon himself, Clement Monarch Ogaro.
Wow, I hope I can live up to that icon status, you know what I mean? But good morning, it's great to be here. To all the viewers, we definitely appreciate you tuning in today. And hey, we're going to talk Calypso, as she said. And guess what? Tonight is the National Calypso Finals.
Yes.
So, interesting.
Yes, interesting. So can you tell us first, what caused your involvement in Calypso? Why Calypso?
I mean, I knew that I could always sing from I was small, and I don't know, maybe we got the musical inclination from my dad. So I knew I could sing, and I was singing in the church back in the village. And then they introduced the Junior Calypso competition in 1973. Oops. And I decided to enter. It was the year that I went to the Bastia Junior High School, as it was that time, and they had a competition the summer before that. So I decided to enter the fray. I did. I wasn't successful that first year, but after that, they couldn't beat me.
I'm convinced.
Take us back, if you can, to that very moment when you took the stage at Bastia Junior High School. What was that like? If you can recall.
My first experience of singing on a stage was at the Apollo Cinema. That's where they sell chicken right now, ready fry?
Yes, the movies.
Okay, good, the movies. That's the old movies.
Yes.
So, I mean, it was set up like a nice setup, just like the Apollo in New York. We had 3 segments, and the bottom segment was pit. So that's where I sang first, and then it was the semifinals, I think, the semifinals of the Junior Calypso competition, 1973. And that was a crazy experience. I don't know, I was nervous about going on the stage, and I didn't do as well as I knew that I could do. So I vowed to make it up the following years, and I certainly did.
So what has been the most notable moment of your career, your extensive Calypso career?
That's a good question.
Or if you have more than one, you could tell me.
Notable? All right, I did a 50-minute documentary with the BBC called Lost in Music that a lot of people here probably haven't seen, because the BBC owned the rights. They showed it in England and in the rest of Europe. The script was written by Carol Phillips, who is an author from St. Kitts as well. And so that was a high for me. Going to Rio for Carnival.
Oh, wow.
That was,
as a Calypsonian?
No, as a spectator. I just wanted to see what it was all about. That was a high for me as well. Yeah, I mean, you know, there are others as well too, because winning 4 Junior Calypso crowns is still a record today. Somebody tied the record, but nobody's broken it.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny, this morning when I got up and I'm thinking about the interview, and it just occurred to me that, hey, did any other Calypsonian in St. Kitts won 4 crowns in a national Carnival Calypso competition? And the answer is no. I was the first between seniors and juniors between 1973 and 1979. Ellie Mac got his 4th crown in 1980, so that's a high.
Yes,
definitely a notable moment.
That's definitely
yes, and I mean, to crown it off though, way back when, you know, there was a song called Sawfish Tongue, and it made it pretty well on the international scene. It was on the charts in New York on WLIB for quite a few years. I mean, for quite a few weeks, I'm sorry. And it made it to 2 compilation albums, one in Canada, one in New York. And it also made it on the Caribbean music segment on BWIA. I mean, I'm sorry, on American Airlines back in the day when they flew from New York to Puerto Rico. And you had to take, the little plane to come over to St. Kitts. But yeah, that's a lot of highs.
Yes.
I've had some lows too, just so you guys know.
Well, I didn't know I saw Bishop tongue. When they told me so, I told them they're wrong. Cause I see plenty from since I was small.
Those lyrics, what inspired that song?
Well, it came from a journey, actually. I went to New York in 1983 as a Calypsonian seeking out, the international scene. And I got signed up to a small label. The small label sent me to Trinidad. So I was in Trinidad for Christmas and Carnival, I think 83, 84. And I met one of the greatest writers of Calypso, Winsford Devines, who passed away recently. And I used to hang out with him, and he gave me the idea one day, and thus the song was born. It's, of course, double entendre, so, different meanings. But I think, back then we were writing a lot different to what we're hearing on some of these bands now in St. Kitts. We don't go as deep as that. So it's very nice, it's very diplomatic, but people loved it because, not only because of the lyrics, but because it was easy to sing as well.
Right.
The chorus was easy to sing.
Right.
So that's where that was born. My first time experiencing Carnival in Trinidad. And so it was born.
It does have a little Trinidadian
yes.
sound.
It was arranged by one of the top arrangers at the time, Frankie McIntosh, who is from St. Vincent, but he works in New York, and he had worked for, all the top Calypsonians at the time that we recorded it in New York. So, yep.
And what was that experience like? Did you know that it would go that international? And when you realized what was happening, what was those feelings like?
I knew that it sounded good.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. But I was Monarch from St. Kitts. Nobody know who Monarch is. And sometimes, of course, kisses go by favors. In New York at the time, because I was on the scene in New York. In New York at the time, everybody wanted their song to play on WLIB, which was the station that broadcasts Caribbean music, mostly Calypso. And they had a chart every Saturday. So, went to a big label. It was Bees and Charlie's at the time, the 2 big labels in New York. And Bees accepted it right away. They loved it. They said, yes, we're going to do it. And so they did it. And the first time I kind of had an inclination that it might do good was back in the days in New York. You had a record store. You had a DJ playing music. Yes, and he's introducing music to people who are coming in to shop. This was records. And so the guy who was doing that, the DJ, told me, he says, listen, before the song was released, I was just playing it to customers who came into the store, and he sold over 20 copies. And that's when I felt as if, well, yeah, maybe there's something to it. And so they're a big label. They have access to the big media. They went to WLIB, whatever they did, over the table, under the table. It made it work. And so it was played on WLIB. Kind of went viral, and I don't know, back then we didn't have no cell phones, so I have no idea how people were reaching me to do shows, but they were reaching me. So out of that, I didn't make a lot of money from the recording itself, but the shows that came because of the popularity of the song. Yep, that's what happened. So, but I don't know. if my emotion would have told me that, yeah, this is something really big or whatever it is, I think I'm still a humble person. So though I acknowledged what was happening, it wasn't for me to be, ringing the bell. You know what I mean? So yeah, but yeah, it was a good feeling, of course. I mean, rubbing shoulders with all the top Calypsonians of the day, from Sparrow, Kitchener, Short Shot, Arrow, Come Down. I mean, yeah, that was a great experience for me. So, and that was the song that people always want to hear.
Now that you're here, that puts you in what I suspect would be quite a unique position, because you have all of this experience, and then you're able to see, I suppose, what the future of Calypso looks like. Does that make you hopeful at all?
I mean, yes, it does. I know COVID has changed this situation from 2019 Carnival, but there were 2 levels of junior Calypso competition, which I think was, I don't know what they call it. One was junior and maybe teenage or something like that. And there was a lot of guys singing. The issue that I see, not very many are crossing over. At 18, you have to stop singing junior Calypso. And then you can go into the senior Calypso competition. Over the last couple of years, not very many people came through. When I was singing in the junior Calypso competition, that's what we were aiming for. I even went early. I went when I was 17 years old, because they didn't prevent you from being too young. But I mean, nowadays you don't see that. So I think that's one of the areas that we probably need to look at to get that transition, for people to start replacing the Star Shields and the Socrates and the Jackies and all those people, because, the future is right there.
Right.
The future is right there. The good thing about it, though, is that one of the finalists for the Soca Monarch this year, Power Soca Monarch, and the Calypso finals is Takeover. Takeover is the guy who tied the record in the junior Calypso competition. So, the transition was made, and look where he's at today.
Right.
I mean, he's in the finals of all the competitions. So, but that's something that I definitely think, needs to be nurtured, so that we get more people crossing over, or, go young. That's what it is. I mean, in St. Kitts, they talk about the young people all the time, and I love them to death.